Good morning for some, afternoon for most. Welcome to Marketing Matters from Modern Practices with Market My Market and Peerlogic. It looks like my co-host is having some technical difficulties at the moment, so I think it might be best if we just get started. Um, if Guido's able to jump in, we'll have him hop in with it, but I think there's some good value that we can do in the webinar for now. The next 30 minutes, we're going to explore how to bridge the gap between visibility and actual patient growth. I know from my experience, marketing can be one of those things that becomes a little bit of a black hole for dental practices. We don't know where the leads are coming from, how it's happening, and how to get more traction in our practices. So we're going to jump right in and get this going. Introductions. I'm Josh Wagner. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Peerlogic. Not a lot to say there. Guido hopefully will be joining us soon. Like I said, he is having some technical difficulties on the back end, so my apologies for that. So let's talk a little bit about reality that practices are facing today when we think about things like competition, behavior changes, and gaps that we may see in conversions throughout our practices. One of the biggest things that I know, I'm in the Phoenix area, and I think there's something like 5,000 dentists in the Phoenix market. That's a lot of dentists. I know if I walk outside the door, there's probably 15 within less than a quarter square mile of my office right here. So competition is stiff. We're all battling for eyeballs, and we know that there are a lot of things that go into standing out when it comes to competing with those that are around us in the market. And the interesting thing is that our buyers, which is the patient, their behavior is changing and how they search for us is changing. It's something that we'll dive into a little bit here in the webinar, but just think about how you've changed your own behaviors as a consumer, whether it's for a product or a service or anything for that matter. Your behaviors have changed over the last decade or two based on how technology has advanced. So those are some things you want to think about when you think about the behaviors of what's happening with the patients that are looking for and searching for practices. And then one thing that often gets forgotten is just once we capture those eyeballs, how do we convert them, ensure that they land on our schedule and convert to a patient that shows up for an appointment and actually pays their bill, which is revenue to our top line. So let's pull the thread on that concept of revenue and where revenue is lost. So demand, and I know a lot of you are likely spending money on marketing in your market, right? The reality is that demand doesn't automatically become appointments. And what we're doing is creating a lot of people coming through. Hey, Guido, welcome to the show. You're on mute.
Thank you so much for having me. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing well. We got kicked off here to get things going, but wanted to give the audience a quick welcome to Guido. Guido, welcome to the show. Quick introduction.
Yes. So my name is Guido Tabano. I'm the CMO of Market My Market. We're a digital marketing company that's been around for over 13 years, started out in legal, and we got into dental about 4 years ago. And we look at things in a totally different way. Everything's about local marketing and analytics and really utilizing tools like what we're talking about today and really getting, what are the wins in that market to get you patients in your seat. So
Great. Well, we had just I'm glad you were able to make it. I know you're having some technical troubles, so appreciate you working through those and getting on. One of the things that we were talking about prior is just the reality that these practices live in today. A lot of competition in local markets, buyer behavior has changed, and there is a gap from driving demand and actually converting that demand into people that are sitting in your chairs and paying you for your services. So we started translating that into where revenue is lost. And the reality is, even if you're spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on marketing, that demand and those eyeballs don't automatically convert into appointments. And you can see some of the things that go into that here, but curious, you guys have the data, right? What are you seeing in terms of driving demand and converting that demand into revenue?
So I think the era of like where it was just like you needed to get someone to rank and have a lot of reviews are gone, right? I mean, in dentistry, like other service industries, like, no one wakes up and just starts doing these searches. There has to be some sort of pain point that drives them there. So either your tooth hurts, something happened, you cracked it, all these other things, or it's like you need some sort of healthcare in dental. So that's what drives it. And, before all the changes like started coming about and like how people search, it's like, again, you saw, like maps, there were 3 positions. You made some decision based on the reviews that were there. You saw the first page of Google, or you saw a paid ad, you click on it and you got calls. But like that era has really changed because how people search and the driving factors in today's market are just much different. You have like I guess it's people have the attention span of my kids, including me. I want to find something right away. Right. So you don't find it right away, just like using your software too. Like it has to be prevalent and easy to kind of click and do that. You click off, you go somewhere else. So it's really like the calls to action that drive things in a market. And really, what are those in that market? And they can be simple things like you're a family-owned practice, or you work with insurance, or you have appointments on Saturday. It could be something so simple that you're just like missing the boat on, and people they just click off. So we're seeing this like sort of granular sort of like marketing within that local level. That is what's driving like patients. And it's not just driving the patients, it's patients that stick. Right. And I'm sure you guys do that too. It's like everybody gets into this thing where it's like, how many new patients do you want monthly? And it's like this churn and burn cycle, but no one wants to really be in that. You want good quality patients for what you're trying to accomplish or you do at your practice, whether it's, general bread and butter dentistry or multi-specialty, or you are a specialist, and you want them to stick and listen to you. And that's what it comes down to. And that's what we're seeing. And that's changing so rapidly right now. So.
Yeah, it's really interesting, the way behavior has changed and drives people to open the door. But even that call is oftentimes not enough, right? We've collected over 1 billion minutes of calls in the dental industry through our platform. And to me, one of the most telling things is still the simplest: missed calls. If a call is missed and you think that that person's going to leave a voicemail and wait for you to call them back, you're gravely mistaken. You have to capture that intent right away because, like you said, everyone's got a short attention span. We've been served up an environment. I could order a toothbrush, a bottle of Listerine, and snacks from Amazon and have it within the next 2 hours, right? And I don't even have to do anything other than click 2 things on my phone. So that level of expectations.
You can use the new Claude bot that everyone's talking about, where it's like you create your bot that's going to do everything for you. You wake up and your Amazon shopping's done.
Exactly right. So our expectations as consumers has changed. And I think that's the frame of mind that we should have these dental practices in, is really thinking through how your expectations as a consumer apply to your dental practice, because that's going to help you create the experience that the patients are looking for on the other end. So we started to tease this out a little bit, right? And what you were talking about, the data, the way people are searching, what you need to do at the local level to really stand out, how you need to capture calls. But let's start here with point number 1. I mean, this is your business. Know your market. What can you say to these practices about really a deep understanding of the market?
So this all starts with the demographic study. And I'm not talking about how many other dentists are in the market too, and how much people make necessarily. I mean, this is like, who are the people in your community? What are they made up of? Like, how many kids are there if you do pediatrics? Like, and what ages is the average family? Like, are they having kids? Is the population growing? Do people speak other languages? What are they? Do you need to have someone that speaks Spanish, if not you, at your front desk, right? Other things too, like what do in-house plans look like in that market, right? What do hours of operation look like? I think, again, long gone, or like every dentist wants to be closed Friday, and that's great. I would love to not work summer Fridays too. But it's like, I don't, like, when I was growing up, like, I would have to like pick my schedule based on what the doctor was, but that's gone. I mean, you have literally clinics that are open later. You have people that are open on Saturday. Someone's going to fill that void in that market if you're not doing it. I mean, I understand when you have a following there and you've been around for a while and you can sort of dictate that that's there. But if you're new and you're really looking to capture a younger audience, you got to adapt. I think that's what it comes down to. So knowing your market and adapting to that and making smart decisions based on it too. The other thing that it means also is, again, it doesn't matter how many dentists are in that market, right? What matters is how many people are searching for the keywords that you're looking for. So again, no one wakes up and goes, I need a dentist near me, or I need, an emergency dentist, or any of these other things, unless they need it. If you're my dentist, Josh, then I'm going to call you. I'm not going to search that. And if I trust you, I'm not going to say, how much is a crown? We have a trust factor. So those are all the things that you need to know in that market.
So you said something really interesting there is the competition doesn't matter. And I want to dive into kind of how you framed up knowing your market because I'm a firm believer that niche wins. Does that play into it a little bit here in the dentistry market? Can you have a niche within, I'm in Scottsdale, right? I walk out my office, there's 15 offices within a quarter mile, right? So there's inherent competition, but is there niching that happens here? Talk to me a little bit about that.
So absolutely. So I think let's go back to the first thing too, right? Everyone wants to be fee for service, right? No one wants to take insurance, right? You said before about missed calls and no one's going to do anything, right? If I am paying and I can go wherever I want, why am I going to wait at all? If you don't answer my call or do anything to capture me, I'm going right on to the next person. You know what else too? If I'm waiting more than 15 minutes in your office, I'm probably going to be pissed off and not want to go to you. So dentists are like the third touch point. So that means that creating a niche within there, amazing customer service. And it's simple, right? Your front desk people are the ones answering phones, no matter what you do that, whether you use a bot or something or screen stuff, there still should be some sort of human touch point to sort of like separate you from the difference, right? I love how dental offices, because one of the things we do is we secret shop them during the first 6 weeks, and we do 3 secret shops. They're very transactional. It's like, we always want to answer people's questions, and you think you're doing the right thing, but the answer is not, do you take my insurance, yes or no, right? Most of
Right.
these procedures are not covered. The question is, what are you calling about? How can I help you today? Let me explain to you how dental insurance works and a little bit about the practice. That is niche marketing right there. You're differentiating yourself, right? Every dentist says they're the best. They all do the best cosmetic thing. They
That's
all
right.
do, everyone's the best. So how are you different? What's different about you, you know? So you got to kind of figure that out. And that's a team approach too, but it's also data that drives it. You know, tools like what you have, transcribe calls, they record them, they look at it. The data's right there. What are the most frequently asked questions? We don't have to reinvent the wheel here. So it's just, there's so much data available today. It's what are you doing with it? Right. And how are you making smart decisions based on it? Not just like, oh, I do this, because that's just going through the motions.
So that translates, right? We're at the top of the funnel here. We're understanding our market, who we want to talk to, how we want to differentiate ourselves within that market, messaging, positioning. This is a lot of marketing 101 type of stuff, but I think it's a good exercise for practices to go through as they think about how they're positioned within their local area. But then you get into like, okay, drive high intent demand. There's a lot to unpack there because I know growing up in a marketing world for the last couple of decades, I don't care what the industry is, marketing can be a black hole for business owners, founders, CEOs, whatever it may be. It's felt like a cost center because I don't know, I'm spending 20 grand a month on my paid ads and I don't know what I'm getting out the other end. So unpack it for me. What does high demand, drive high intent demand even mean?
So step one, it comes down to the office. What's the goal, right? Like, this is one of the first things we ask, like, what is your goal out of marketing? What is your goal for the year? Like, what is it? Because again, if I get a client that's like, I want to grow 20% this year, but I look at the number of searches happening on a local basis, like we said before, and it's not there, it's not happening. I can't make miracles happen. I can't make populations increase. I can't increase demand. This isn't like, we're influencers or, we have a new product, like a new thing that Coke puts out or something like that, that you get a celebrity to do it and everyone wants it. It's like, you're either in pain, you need the dentist, or like there's a trigger for here. That being said, you look at what you do. Like, maybe the market wins, this drive of high intent is like emergency cases that happen in this market. Right? Someone cracks their tooth, they go into an urgent care center, they don't have anything, so that's like, we can't help you. So they search for a dentist right away that's open, that can do that. So a call to action would be like, we have same day appointments, right? So it kind of all goes in line together, right? Another thing that looks at too, like, when you're looking into like sort of the paid sector, right, is like, paid, you have to really kind of understand like what's going on. We've become very smart as consumers, and we understand that when you see that ad, we know that someone is paying to be in that position. It's not always necessarily what we're looking for, although, Google, Instagram, Meta, it's gotten a little bit better about being more granular because they realize that too, right? But again, If you're a practice that takes fee for service and you're running ads and you're not really understanding them too, you're going to get everyone under the sun that's going to call, like, and what's that going to look like? Just your calls ringing with the wrong type of patients. So the best conversation is to say, okay, we want to set a goal. We want to grow X amount in this amount of time, and then back into that. How many searches happen in this market? How many cases do you think we can handle, on a month, like on a weekly basis, and then break it down daily, and then look at your closing ratios too, because maybe I don't need to get more people to call your phones. Maybe what we need to do is use the data to see how you can close them better, follow up better, right. Have a much better process. I mean, it's just very interesting, right? And we use this example all the time. If you go in to shop for any car today, you're just shopping, right? And a lot of these cosmetic procedures, they start with a shopping thing because they go somewhere and they get a ridiculous price and they're like, whoa, I didn't know that this was going to cost more than a car for my
That's right.
implants, right? So when you leave a BMW, you leave a Toyota, they're not letting you leave with any information. They call you, they text you, they do all these great follow-ups. You make a decision pretty quickly, right? Dentistry is the same thing. It's not cool as a car, but you're spending a lot of money. So why don't you have really good follow-ups for these high intent demand people? There's a very small window. You don't say, okay, when they want to call, someone's like, let me think about it. You don't say, okay. You're like, okay, well, let me do this. I'm going to send you some information over on the practice. In there is about the doctor. We have X, Y, and Z calls to action, whether it's payment plans, 0%, but whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Everybody's different. And set a follow-up date, right? Your data can tell you how to do that. And I can show you too, what that looks like to capture more of those clients like that. And where did that client originate from? And how do we duplicate that? So, the demand is always in a market. I don't care what anyone says. There's people searching. It's just how do you get ahead of the competition and really close them and make that into, money generated for your office? Because again, it doesn't matter how many people click on the website or how many call. If they don't pay, our lights don't stay on in dentistry. It's a service industry. I always say that,
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's something worth talking about because it touches on points 3, 4, and 5 here.
Mhm.
Tracking. You talked a little bit about community, but drop off points. When you're talking about marketing to a consumer, every business I've ever been a part of is enamored with net new, right? Driving that new business, that first time,
Mhm.
new patient, new customer, whatever it may be. But how often are you thinking about the lifetime value of an existing patient and how you market to them throughout that life cycle? As an example, I'm a middle-aged man with a family. The chances of me leaving my dentist aren't that good. I don't like change. If I know the phone number, I know I can call and make an appointment, I'm probably going to do it. However, my 20-year-old self probably doesn't give a rip about loyalty or anything like that. I'm going to call who's ever I'm thinking about, right? So, do you think about data in that way, right? Because this is where I think about tracking, measurement, lifetime value, drop off points where you might lose somebody. How do you think about those types of things?
So that is also part of it because, when we say marketing, it's so broad. And when you say digital marketing, it's the
That's
same
right.
thing. It's so broad, right? So when we talk marketing, you have in office marketing too, right? You should be looking at that. I think it ties to one thing that I learned when I got into dentistry too, which you talk to a dentist, you're like, okay, how many active patients do you have? You get a different answer for everything. My background's in self-storage. It's totally different. When you're like, how occupied are you? You know exactly what percentage it is,
You know
right?
the number. Yeah,
Either are paying for a space or you're not there. In
that's right.
dentistry, you get all these answers, whether they've been back 12 months or 18 months or 2 years. Let me tell you, people have no attention span. Your active patients are what you're pretty much making in a year to me. That's a good definition. If they haven't
Yeah.
come in a year, I don't know what you think you're going to do to trigger them to come back in unless they totally, break every tooth in their mouth. And that's I always laugh at the Instagram thing with I broke it on a piece of bread. Everyone has the same answer. But what are you doing, sort of on a monthly or quarterly basis to get engagement there? a lot of times, like we see that they don't even realize like that the GP they go to can do Invisalign, they can do implants, they can do endo,
Right.
they do all of this stuff. They have no idea because there's no in-office marketing, you know, or there's no sort of like communication or that too. Or it's like they come in, they have a hygiene visit and they're like, oh, I didn't know you do that. I sent my grandmother or I sent my aunt to someone and they just lost like a $20,000, $30,000 case. So
That's right.
communication is key. Newsletters done correctly, I think, are great. Again, no one really wants to see that much about dentistry, but just enough that you pique their interest, I think, is
Newsletters are
good.
making a comeback, man, in every industry.
Yeah. Well, it's engagement. You can click through rates. You can see who they are, what they're doing, if it was forwarded to. But again, it goes back to tracking. Everything you do should be tracked. There should be dynamic tracking numbers on everything. You should be able to track IP addresses. You should know the origination point of everyone there. And then that's where all these like amazing AI tools come in, because I'm not listening to 400 or 500 calls a month. There's just no way.
That's
But
right.
like AI can listen and pick up all sorts of patterns and say like, you know, Miss Jones is a current client. She, you know, called about X, Y, and Z. She needs a call back. Track how long it took to get back to her, things like that. You know, there's so much value in like the call recordings and the AI summary. You know, I think too, you look at origination points and like, you know, most offices have a couple people answering phones and they just think everyone has the same experience. It's not true. I mean, if someone is saying their name and you see who's answering the call, you can track through the data and see like what their closing ratios and how much they're generating and kind of see what the difference is between two different people. And like, it could be really substantial value and revenue, you know, and that's part of your in-office marketing too, because you need more training for that other person that's not closing as high or doesn't give the same sort of client experience that you need in that sort of niche marketing there too, you know? So
Yeah, it's one of the things that, really, when I think about takeaways from the conversation as we're rolling up on about 7 minutes here, the data is non-negotiable, right? And that data comes from a variety of different angles. And you've touched on a bunch of them here as we've talked, anything from understanding your market to generating high intent demand, capturing those conversions and those conversations that are happening with your people at the front office and the back office, and creating a mechanism for throughput is essentially what it turns out. And I will tell you, I was thinking about this when you were talking about the cost of a vehicle in people's mouths. I often joke that I have an Acura MDX in my mouth. And, there were things identified from an injury I had when I was 13 years old, right? And
mhm,
the dentist I wound up going to in my 20s was because this is the dentist my wife went to. So that's who I went to, right? And
mhm.
he started building a plan early. I couldn't afford any of that stuff. So I was just like, no, 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 no. But I will say, as nascent as it was, every time I was in the office, they talked to me about it. They showed me pictures, they sent me emails, right? It wasn't super sophisticated, but it was always on my radar, right? But as I matured and got to a point where I could afford to put a car in my mouth, you know what? I heard ads for all-on-4s, for all-in-ones, for this all the time.
Mhm.
And, they were in my head because I knew I had this stuff going on. But at the end of the day, I went with the person I trust who continually talked to me about this thing, even if they knew I wasn't ready to do it, couldn't afford to do it, whatever that thing was. So I think there's some common sense that comes into all of this. And data really is an unlock for how to leverage that common sense. And then that the story there is point number two: meet the patients where they are, right? Like everyone's life cycle circumstance is different, the mode of communication they want to do. And that's where, you talked about call tracking, data, call recordings, call summaries. Those things are all important. But how do you engage with those people? If someone can't pick up the phone, do you have a fail safe? Do you have the ability to catch them on the web when they do those high intent searches, whatever it may be? I think there's a lot of things there that can really be enabled by technology, and having, if nothing else, a very consistent approach. And I will say that's the kudos I would give to my dentist over the last 25 years. He's consistent, if nothing else, right? Like it's the
That's
same
awesome.
approach every single time.
Really, yeah, relationships always win. I mean, people always lead by price, but at the end of the day, there's other factors that go into why you make a buying decision. We see this all the time, you know? And again, you can't come right out of dental school and want to open an implant center doing all on X's for all this with like no reviews to back you. I mean,
Right.
that's the other thing that people look at too. It's like, even as an agency, we don't take dentists less than 4.3 stars because, like, I can't make miracles happen. I can get you visible. I
That's
can
right.
get, you in front of all these searches and whether it's like paid or organic or, maps. But from there, they're literally looking at your reviews. And now the new AI software, whether it's Claude or Gemini or ChatGPT, it's literally aggregating what people are saying about you. So there's like no escaping it. And it's not necessarily quantity anymore, but it's like quality and like the consistency that they're coming in and getting engagement. So, tech is definitely winning. It's like you seeing it everywhere in every sort of sector, right? But in dentistry too, it's like, I mean, we get into these things all the time too. Like scheduling, right? They fight us on this. Like, you need a scheduling tool. I mean, I
That's
can't
right.
even say it enough. Like, if they can avoid doing it, especially some things like pediatric, you're just going to click and book an appointment. Make it easy for them, or you're not going to win today. That's it. And you can see on all these profiles, the click to call button is going away, and it's more about engagement there. So it's like the click to book. It's pretty much like, prevalent everywhere. It's not going anywhere. And that's what you're going to see all over the place. So you either play the game or you become obsolete. So.
Well said. So I think we have some goodies for the audience here. Why don't you talk a little bit about if they scan this QR code for Market My Market, what's going to happen, Guido?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do some pretty awesome next level demographic studies. Whether you're looking to, open a practice and you need a zip code analysis, or you're buying a practice and you want to see what forecasting for the first couple of years looks like based on like search, insurance searches, all this stuff. Or if you just have a practice and you're like, what do I do next? Do I want to add an associate? What does growth look like this year? And we run them free all the time. And I love it. I love doing discovery calls and kind of walking through data, because it just makes our tool better at what this looks like. And there's all sorts of really relevant information, from who your competition is, how you rank on a map, how does growth look like in that sector, what you should be maybe thinking about, where it's like a focus could maybe like ortho. Ortho is a great way to increase a general practice, 5 to 7 cases a month. You could add almost like 350,000 to your bottom line based on average of cases. So in dentistry, little numbers add up to big revenue. That's what it comes down to. So we look at all that. So, please take us up. We'd love to pull data for you. It makes me happy. I love looking at data, and I like talking to dentists to see what's going on in individual markets. So you can scan and book an
Awesome.
appointment with us.
Yeah. All right. I heard scan the code, free demographic report, 350 to the bottom line. That's what I heard.
Perfect. Exactly.
Uh,
That was the AI summary.
yeah. Well, similarly, hit the QR code for us at Peerlogic. Like I said, we are also in the business of data. We've collected over 1 billion minutes of data across front office phone calls, right? So still in a dental practice, 80% of revenue is driven through the phone. You guys are picking up the phone, setting appointments, confirming appointments, calling people back, bringing them in. We ensure that no opportunity is missed on the phone, whether it's through what the human beings are saying, capturing those conversations and alerting doctors and front office staff to opportunities, or our AI agents capturing those calls and making sure no call gets missed. Scan on that QR code and you can get an output of some of our data that we've learned from scanning those billions of minutes of calls. You can see a report there that we have that gives you some benchmark data around what's going in the front office call universe. And like that, it's the top of the hour. Guido, thank you for the time. Appreciate you joining.
Thank
Sorry for
you.
the technical difficulties. I appreciate you getting over them.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
All right. For Guido and Josh, Market My Market and Peerlogic, that was modern marketing insights that actually move revenue.